The purpose of the mind or thinking is to create an internal map of the territory of reality. Right? Now, your existence is a feature of the map of reality. So, the map you are creating by your thinking would unavoidably necessitate you being represented. This is where a self image and a self concept comes in.
Ego identity, if you call it that.
Because of self ignorance, we don't realize that we have a built in identity. Right? So, what we use as a substitute is identification. We build an identity through identification, identifying with your name, your religion, your property, your possessions, right? Your relations,
Your job
and your job and all that. That we draw a sense of try to build a sense of identity by drawing on these various areas, not recognizing the fact that we already have an identity that's built in. For anything to exist, it must have an identity, and the fact that you exist means you already have an identity. So there's no need to identify. The reason you end up identifying or trying to create identity through identification is because of self-ignorance. Right? If a man knows himself, he'd realize that his reality is beyond language, is beyond words. Because as a child, before you learn language, you already exist. Your identity, you have an identity. It's independent of identification. Right? But because contemporary man has become, like how you say somebody a muscle bound, right? Man has become mental, kind of mental bound. In other words, while thought is meant to be a tool, it has become the master. We have lost the awareness of our reality or the experience of it without thought acting as a mediator. A child experiences its reality without thought mediating, and a child experiences its reality in its pure, original, authentic form. And this is what the statement to be like a child again really refers to. What you are is not a, what you are cannot be captured by thought. It is not a word. It is not a mental image. It is an experience and a state of awareness. Right? But because our sense of identity is mentally created by identification, that means that our sense of identity is going to be fragmented. It's going to be a part of a potentially greater whole, because you could always add you could always add to your identity, or the things you identify with, because there's no limit to the things you can identify with. Look, man, identifying with woman and calling this a woman. Woman identifying, so identity is not something you can pursue and achieve. The reason why you cannot do that is because to exist, you must have an identity. To pursue something, you already exist. So you already have identity. You already have an identity. What has happened is because of intellectual indoctrination, one, and two, because the informational content of that intellectual addiction does not include the facts of your reality, you cannot experience it. Observe, if, if, if you observe how the mind operates, right? Anything you have no information about, you cannot be aware of, you cannot perceive. It is as though our world has become so dependent on thinking, right? That we don't realize we have handicap or growth or development. And because thinking is something you learn, right? And it is the culture that teaches you to think or provides you the information that you internalize and subsequently use to think. Anything the culture doesn't tell you about does not exist for you. So if the culture doesn't tell you what you are, you're unable to know what you are, or you cannot experience what you are, or consciously appreciate what you are. You man, man has become too mentally unbalanced. He's mentally addicted. Look at this. I always make mention of this, the fact that we are addicted to thinking, right? We spend our whole day just thinking. The only thing, the only thing we choose is what to think about. But we always thinking. And thinking is based on information you already have. It is because the way the society is organized, there are certain people who have a vested interest in you being self-ignorant. Because once you're self-ignorant, you can be easily controlled. Because then you're operating from an image that they have themselves marketed to you and you have internalized and reenacting. It seems normal because from the time from childhood coming up, that is what everybody is doing. So it becomes the norm, right? But we have become imprisoned by mind, which is a tool or faculty we are supposed to develop to enhance our social interaction. We are independent of thinking because remember, thinking is something you learn and you start to do. Remember, thinking is started with language and you're not born knowing language. So this dependence on thinking is, is culturally promoted by not telling you that you by becoming by becoming addicted to thinking, you compromise the deeper levels of your being.
So, how does one, I don't know, I want to say get in touch with who they really are. I don't know if get in touch is the right term, or how does one discover who they really are, or uncover who they really are, you know? Apart from thinking, like the real self-awareness, how does one reach to that state, or reach to understanding? So they going beyond the ego identification, as they say, and really understanding that they are more than that, then, or deeper than that.
How does one discover that they are more than they are aware of, or more than they have been taught?
Yeah.
Now, this position is different and interesting. Although I'm referring to what I'm about to say. Now, everyone is aware that they are aware, right? I mean, every, everything you do as a human being involves awareness, right? You're aware of the environment, you're aware of people. Right now in the library, you're aware of books, right? Everything you do involves awareness. But when we aware, few of us recognize the value of awareness in and of itself and the importance of experiencing awareness in its pure form. You see, because yeah, what? The word awareness is what is meant by the term spirit.
Okay.
Right? You are a spiritual being aligned to a physical organism, and that awareness is experiencing itself in a human form. So that creates the human awareness that you are right now, or you experience your reality as being right now. Right? It is important that you don't. It is important that you rise above the things that thinking make you aware of, and try to regain the awareness, or becoming more aware of awareness. In other words, spirit, becoming more spiritualized in your experience. Awareness has no boundaries, you know. All the sense of boundaries that a human being experiences is based on the thought process, you know. The thought process creates boundaries. The thought process directs awareness because the thought process determines what you're aware of. But awareness is a power in and of itself because all the things you can be aware of represent directions or focus or the focus of awareness, which means awareness is independent of all of that. It is independent of the diversity of options. You are awareness. Now, this is also the basis of individuality because I could never enter your awareness. Now, you could be aware of my presence, but I could never be aware of the awareness that calls itself Mark, that is sitting across there.
You could never be aware.
I can never experience what Mark experiences. My experience can never be yours. You perceive the world from a perspective that no one else in existence can, because no one else can sit in your space of awareness. The same way nobody's body could be like your body.
Mm-hmm.
You see, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't appreciate the significance of individuality. Individuality means nobody shares anything. What you are seeing is unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
What you are hearing is unique to you. What you're experiencing is unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
It cannot be shared. We could talk about it, and because of the similarity of language, we could agree that yes, there is a red book there, right? But you are not seeing my book, and I'm not seeing your book. You see, the term world is a term that a lot of people don't have never really paid attention to, right? The meaning, the word world means nothing in particular, and in a sense, everything in general, because it had the religious world, it had the political world, it had the sports world,
the scientific world.
scientific world, the geographic world, the political world. Right? The term world is loose, right? But it is important to understand what the term world actually means. Everybody is living in their own world. Your world, an individual's world, is the sum total of their experience. Either if you look at it from in terms of their lifespan, or any moment while they exist, your world keeps changing as you move. As you move, your world keeps changing. As you meet new people, the world is always in flux. But the world, when you use the term world, we are speaking of a highly personal thing. It is not something there outside of that you could share, like a room. Both of you going in the same room. Both of us going in the savannah. The world is a highly personal thing. And to understand, the understanding of the world is connected to the understanding of self. Right? Because everybody's world is independent, it's unique, it's distinct. It cannot be shared. To understand the world, you have to understand yourself. Because you create the world that you know by your behavior, by your thoughts, by the information you have, the way you use the information. All that makes up your world. When you're lying down in bed before you go to sleep, where is your world? Where is the world? The world, yes. Yes. When you go outside, the world is outside. So the world is a very flexible concept. But it is important that you understand what you are in order to be able to appreciate what the world really means, because in a very real and literal sense, you are the world and you know you.
You are the world. We are the world. We are the world.
Right? In a very literal sense, in the sense that you are the world that you know. And nobody can know the world that you know. When you're going through your sorrows and your pain and your frustration, nobody is aware of it unless you tell them, or unless the psychological state you're in shows on your face. Or you engage in some kind of behavior that is not the norm as people have grown to expect of you. But the world is a highly personal thing. For example, like if a man take LSD, right, or one of those nerve and brain altering chemicals, their world changes. And when that change takes place in their world, none of the people around them can partake of it. And if they don't tell anybody around them about it, no one knows. The world is a highly, highly personal thing. This is and this is why I said earlier, to understand the world, you have to understand yourself, because your world is tied up with your knowledge. For example, there are many books here on these shelves. If you take down a book that you haven't read before and you read the book, after you finish reading the book and you close the book and put it down, you can now think using the informational content of the text that you read. Your world has extended. More perceptions, either in terms of the pictorial content of the text or the informational content. Your world has changed. So the world is not outside it. The world is tied up with information. The world is tied up with knowledge. Your knowledge is your world.
Right. The world is what you know, as they say, right? So,
yeah. And you see, listen to some of the ramifications of that. Men are seeking a God to explain the world that they know. And they always find one.
Okay, staying on that topic, and why do they always find one? Because the information is there in a book that they incorporate into their work?
No.
Or
The reason why they always find a God to explain their world is because the very nature of the world that they live in determines and set the standard of what the God's supposed to be like. Because you're looking for God to explain something that you're dealing with. So what you're dealing with determines and set the standard of the kind of God you're looking for. Because the God, do you know there are many people living their lives without the need for the idea or concept of God, you know. And something I discovered the other day is that self-ignorance and God are mutually inclusive. You can't find one without the other.
God, that is an insistent statement.